Hello everyone, we're back to reading just a calm, slow reading of some of the rules and fun things about Dungeons and Dragons. And today we're going to be talking about continuing it on with the races. This is when you're building your character sheet. It's a very helpful book besides just with the rules, but also just generally getting inspiration, because building a character, especially your first character, can lead to a lot of indecision. So welcome back, and let's get into it. A lot that we'll see is a lot of illustration in this book, which I definitely appreciate, and I think most people would appreciate. It helps give a nice visual to everything that's being explained, especially when it comes to the characters. Now, by no means do you need to have your characters look anything close to what's represented here, but it's just a nice sort of draft for you to go off of and make it your own take. So, let me write this last, and now we're going to move on to races. Chapter 2, Races. A visit to one of the great cities in the worlds of Dungeons & Dragons Waterdeep, the free city of Greyhawk, or even Uncandy Sigil. Voices chatter to overwhelm the senses. The smells of cooking in dozens of different cuisines mingle with the odors of crowded streets and poor sanitation. Buildings in myriad architectural styles, despite the diverse origins of their inhabitants, and the people themselves, people of varying size, shape, and color, dressed in a dazzling spectrum of styles and hues, represent many different races, from diminutive halflings and stout dwarves to majestically beautiful elves, mingling among a variety of human ethnicities. Scattered among the members of these most common races are the true exotics, a hulking dragonborn here, pushing his way through the crowd, and its sly tiefling there, lurking in the shadows with mischief in her eyes. A group of gnomes laughs as one of them activates a clever wooden toy that moves on its own accord. Half-elves and half-orcs live and work alongside humans without fully belonging to the races of either or their parents. And there, when out of the sunlight, is a lone drow, a fugitive from the subterranean expanse of the Underdark, trying to make his way in a world that fears his kind. Choosing a race. Humans are the most common people in the worlds of D&D, and they live and work alongside dwarves, elves, halflings, and countless other fantastic species. Your character belongs to one of these peoples. Not every intelligent race of the multiverse is appropriate for a player-controlled adventurer. Dwarves, elves, halflings, and humans are the most common races to produce the sort of adventurers who make up typical parties. Dragonborn, gnomes, half-elves, half-orcs, and tieflings are less common as adventurers. Drow, a subrace of elves, are also uncommon. Your choice of race affects many different aspects of your character. It establishes fundamental qualities that exist throughout your character's adventuring career. When making this decision, keep in mind the kind of character you want to play. For example, a halfling could be a good choice for a sneaky rogue. A dwarf makes a tough warrior, and an elf can be a master of arcane magic. Your character race not only affects your ability scores and traits, but also provides the cues for building your character's story. Each race's description in this chapter includes information to help you roleplay a character of that race, including personality, physical appearance, features of society, and racial alignment tendencies. These details are suggestions to help you think about your character. Adventurers can deviate widely from the norm for their race. It's worthwhile to consider why your character is different as a helpful way to think about your character's background and personality. Traits. The description of each race includes racial traits that are common to members of that race. The following entries appear among the traits of most races: age, alignment, size, speed, languages, and subraces. The age entry notes the age when a member of the race is considered as an adult, as well as the race's expected lifespan. This information can help you decide how old your character is at the start of the game. You could choose any age of your character, which could provide an explanation for some of your ability scores. For example, if you play a young or very old character, your age could explain a particularly low strength or constitution score, while advanced age could account for a high intelligence or wisdom. Alignment. Most races have tendencies towards certain alignments described in this entry. These are not binding for player characters, but considering why your dwarf is chaotic, for example, in defiance of a lawful dwarf society, can help you better define your character. Characters of most races are medium, a size category including characters that are roughly 4 to 8 feet tall. Members of a few races are small, between 2 to 4 feet tall, which means that certain rules of the game affect them differently. Your speed determines how far you can move when traveling. By virtue of your race, your character can speak, read, and write certain languages. Some races have subraces. Members of a subrace have the traits of the parent race in addition to the traits specified for their subrace. Relationships among subraces vary significantly from race to race and world to world. In the Dragonlance campaign setting, for example, mountain dwarves and hill dwarves live together as different clans of the same people. But in the Forgotten Realms, they live far in separate kingdoms and call themselves shield dwarves and gold dwarves, respectively. Dwarf. Now we're going to get into each different race. So here is the dwarf race. Kingdoms rich in ancient grandeur, halls carved into the roots of mountains, the echoing of picks and hammers in deep mines and blazing forges, a commitment to clan and tradition, and a burning hatred of goblins and orcs. These are the common threads unite all dwarves. Dwarves are probably, like mentioned in the book, one of the most common race someone would play. They're really fun for adventuring around. I personally have never experienced a campaign without at least one dwarf in the group. They're short and they're stout, as we all can understand, and they have long memory and long grudges. They have clans and kingdoms, so this would be really interesting to implement in a heavy background, and could help guide you to create a background being part of a specific clan or kingdom. Dwarven kingdoms, such as deep beneath the mountains, where the dwarves mine gems and precious metals and forge items of wonder. They love the beauty and the artistry of precious metals and fine jewelry, and in some dwarves the festers and whatever wealth they can't find in the mountains they gain through trade. They, of course, love gods, gold, and their clan. So, like we said, this doesn't need to be part of your character. You can deviate how different as you'd like, but this is the general archetype of a dwarf if you need some basis to get started on a hefty background. Dwarves who take up the adventuring life might be motivated by a desire for treasure for its own sake, for a specific purpose, or even out of an altruistic desire to help others. Other dwarves are driven by the command or inspiration of a deity, a direct calling, or simply a desire to bring glory to one of the dwarf gods. Clan and ancestry are also important motivators. A dwarf might seek to restore a clan's lost honor, avenge an ancient wrong the clan suffered, or earn a new place within the clan after having been exiled. Or a dwarf might search for the axe wielded by a mighty ancestor lost on the field of battle centuries ago. Some common dwarf names would be Adric, Durak, Vondel, Travok, Amber, Artin. Now, again, you don't need to pick any of these names, but these are just in case you really would like some added support, which is totally fine. Your dwarf character has an assortment of inborn abilities, so these are called their dwarf traits. We have their ability score increase, so your constitution would be higher than normal as a dwarf. It increases by 2, which is pretty good. You have your age, dwarves live around 350 years old. They're basically considered young until they reach the age 50 on average. Alignment, so most dwarves are lawful, believing firmly in the benefits of a well-ordered society. They tend toward good as well, with a strong sense of fair play. Their size is between 4 and 5 feet tall, and an average about 150 pounds. The size would be considered medium. The speed is 25 feet. They do have dark vision due to their mind fielding. They have dwarven resistance, so they have advantage on saving throws. Against poison, you have resistance against poison damage, which would make sense with the higher constitution score up there. Dwarven combat training, you have proficiency with battle axe, hand axe, light hammer, and warhammer. You're proficient in some brewer supplies, some mason tools, and some smith's tools. And you can speak, read, and write Common and Dwarvish. And sub-races of dwarves populate the world of D&D, hill dwarves and mountain dwarves. Choose one of these sub-races, and choosing one will really also help with creating that background. A hill dwarf, you have keen senses, deep intuition, and remarkable resilience. The gold dwarves of Faerun in the mighty southern kingdom are hill dwarves, as they are exiled Neater and debased Clar of Chiron in the Dragon's List setting. Your wisdom score increases, and your hit points maximum increases by 1. As a mountain dwarf, you're strong and hardy, accustomed to a difficult life in rugged terrain. You're probably on the tall side for a dwarf, and tend toward a lighter coloration. The shield dwarves of northern Faerun, as well as the ruling Hylar clan and the noble Diwar clan of Dragonlance, are mountain dwarves. Your strength core increases, and you have proficiency with light and medium armor. Now on to the next race. Another very common one is an elf. Elves are magical people of otherworldly grace, living in the world but not entirely part of it. They live in the places of ethereal beauty, in the midst of ancient forests, or in silvery spires glittering with fairy light, where soft music drifts through the air and gentle fragrances waft on the breeze. Elves love nature and magic, art and artistry, music, poetry, and good things of the world. They're slender and graceful, slightly shorter than humans, ranging well under 5 feet to just over 6 feet. They're more slender humans, weighing only 100 to 145 pounds. Males and females are all the same height. Elves' coloration encompasses the normal human range and also includes the skin in shade of copper, bronze, and almost a bluish white. Half green, the hair can be green or blue, the eyes like pools of liquid gold or silver. Elves have no facial and little body hair. They favor elegant clothing and bright colors, and they enjoy simple yet lovely jewelry. Elves can live well over 700 years, giving them a broad perspective on events that might trouble the shorter-lived races more deeply. They are more often amused than excited, and more likely to be curious than greedy. They tend to remain aloof and unfazed by petty happenstance, while pursuing a goal, however. Whether adventuring on a mission or learning a new skill of art, elves can be focused and relentless. They are slow to make friends and enemies, and even slower to forget them. They reply to petty insults with disdain, and to serious insults with vengeance. Like the branches of a young tree, elves are flexible in the face of danger. They trust in diplomacy and compromise to resolve differences before they escalate to violence. They've been known to retreat from intrusions into the woodland homes confident, and they can simply wait the invaders out. But when the need arises, elves reveal a stern, martial side, demonstrating skill with sword, bow, and strategy. So there's the hidden woodland realms. Most elves dwell in small forest villages hidden among the trees. Elves hunt game, gather food, and grow vegetables, and their skill and magic allow them to support themselves without the need for clearing and pillowing land. Their exploration and adventure side. Elves take up adventuring out of wanderlust. Since they're so long-lived, they can enjoy centuries of exploration and discovery. They dislike the pace of human society, where it is regimented from day to day, but constantly changing over decades, so they find careers that let them travel freely and set their own pace. Elves also enjoy exercising their martial prowess or gaining greater magical power, and adventuring allows them to do so. Some might join with rebels fighting against oppression, and others might become champions of moral causes. Elves are considered children until they declare themselves adults. Sometime after the 100th birthday, and before this period, they are called by child names. On declaring adulthood, an elf selects an adult name, although those who knew him or her as a younger might continue to use the child name. Each elf's adult name is a unique creation, though it might reflect the name of respected individuals or other family members. Little distinction exists between male and female names. The groupings here reflect only general tendencies. In addition, every elf bears a family name, typically a combination of other elfish words. Some elves traveling among humans translate their family names into common, but others restrain into elvish version. So you can go this route, or you can choose one name. It's not anything that has to be exactly this. Again, this is just for inspiration, and by no means a document that you must exactly follow. The traits of elves. Your elf character has a variety of natural abilities, the result of thousands of years of elven refinement. Your ability score increases, so your dexterity score increases by 2, which is quite beneficial. Your age, as we all know, elves typically claim adulthood and an adult name around the age of 100 and can live up to 750 years old. Alignment-wise, elves love freedom, variety, and self-expression, so they lean strongly toward the gentler aspects of chaos. They value and protect others' freedom as well as their own, and they are more often good than not. The drow are an exception. Their exiled into the Underdark has made them vicious and dangerous. Drow are more often evil than not. Elves range under 5 or 6 feet, medium build, and your walking speed is 30. Accustomed to twilight forests and night sky, you have superior vision in dark and can see in dim light within 60 feet of you. You have keen senses, so you have proficiency in perception skill, and you have an advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put you to sleep. elves don't need to sleep. Instead, they meditate deeply. You can speak, read, and write Common and Elvish. Ancient divides among the elven people resulted in 3 main subraces: high elves, wood elves, and dark elves, who are commonly called drow. Choose one of these subraces. In some worlds, these subraces are divided still further, such as the sun elves and moon elves of the Forgotten Realms. So if you wish, you can choose a narrower subrace. As a high elf, you have keen mind and mastery of the basics of magic. In many of the worlds of D&D, there are 2 kinds of high elves. One type, Greyhawk, the Sylvesti of Dragonlands, and the Sun Elves of the Forgotten Realms, is haughty and reclusive, believing themselves to be superior to non-elves and even other elves. The other type, the Moon Elves of the Forgotten Forest, are more common and more friendly and often encountered among humans and other races. So that's the difference between sun and moon. Then Sun Elves of Faerun are also called the Cold Elves, have bronze skin and hair of copper black or golden blonde. Their eyes are gold and silver or black, and moon elves. Silver or gray elves are much paler and sometimes tinged with blue hair. They often have silver, white, black, or blue, but also shades of blonde, brown, and red. Their eyes are blue or green and freckled with gold. Your intelligence score increases by 1, and you have proficiency with a long sword, short bow, and long bow. So a wood elf, you have senses and intuition, and fleet fairy carry you quickly and stealthily. Wood elf skins tend to be copperish in hue, sometimes with traces of green. Their hands towards brown and blacks, and their eyes are green, brown, or hazel. Ability score increases, so your wisdom score increases. You have proficiency with a longsword, short sword, showbow, and longbow. Your base walking speed is 35 feet, and you can attempt to hide even when you are only lightly observed by foliage, heavy rain, falling snow, mist, and other phenomena. And here we have the last subrace for elf, dark elf, as in the drow. Descended from an earlier subrace of elves, the drow were banished from the surface world for following the goddess Lolith down the path of evil. Now, they have built their own civilization in the depths of the Underdark, patterned after the way of Loth. Also called dark elves, the drow have skin that resembles charcoal or obsidian, as well as stark white or pale yellow. They commonly have very pale eyes in shades of lilac, silver, pink, red, and blue. They tend to be smaller and thinner than most elves. Drow adventures are rare. Check with your dungeon master to see if you can even play a drow. Your ability score increases, so your charisma score increases by 1. Your dark vision has a radius of 120 feet. You have a disadvantage on attack rolls and on wisdom perception checks that rely on the sight when you, the target of your attack, or whatever you're trying to perceive is in direct sunlight. You know the dancing lights cantrip? When you reach the 3rd level, you can cast the fairy fire spell. Once with this straight deep healing, you do so finish with a long rest. When you reach 5th level, you can cast the darkness spell once with this trait and regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. Charisma is your spellcasting ability for these elves. So each of these subraces, you could choose spellcasting specific to whatever would make sense to the background as well as the subrace of your dark elf. So, or any of the subraces of the elf that you choose. So for example, the dark elf in this situation was choosing the dancing lights cantrip. Next we have the halfling. Small and practical. The diminutive halflings survive in a world full of larger creatures by avoiding notice or avoiding offense. Halfling skin ranges from tan to pale with ruddy cast. Halflings practically extends beyond their clothing. They're concerned with basic needs and simple pleasures and have little use for ostentation. Even the wealthiest of halflings keep their treasures locked in a cellar rather than on display for all to see. They're kind and curious, cheerful people. Even adventurers among them usually venture into the world for reasons of community, friendship, wanderlust, or curiosity. They love discovering new things, even simple things, such as exotic food or unfamiliar style of clothing. So you could see already that playing a halfling is almost natural, is a totally natural adventurer. Halflings are adept in fitting into community of humans, dwarves, or elves, making themselves valuable and welcome. Halflings work readily with others, loyal to their friends, and most halflings live in small, peaceful communities with large farms and well-kept groves. They rarely build kingdoms of their own or even hold much land beyond their quiet shires. And you can see who this is reminding you of. Many halflings live among other races where the halflings' hard work and loyal outlook offer them abundant rewards and creature comforts. Some halfling communities travel as a way of life, driving wagons or guiding boats from place to place and maintaining no permanent home. Halflings usually set out on adventures planned to defend their communities, support their friends, or explore a wide, wonder-filled world. A halfling has a given name, family name, and possibly nickname. Family names are often nicknames that are stuck so tenaciously that they've been passed down through generations. Some examples of male names would be Milo, Osborne, Reed, Cade, Ander. Female names, Bree, Callie, Cora, Shayna. Family names, Tea Leaf, Underbro. Yeah, these are great suggestions. Halfling traits. Your halfling character has a number of traits in common with all other halflings. Your dexterity score increases by 2. A halfling reaches adulthood at the age of 20 and generally have lives into the middle of his or her second century. Most halflings are lawful good. As a rule, they are good-hearted and kind, hate to see others in pain, and have no tolerance for oppression. They are also very orderly and traditional, leaning heavily on the support of their community and the comfort of their own ways. They are about 3 feet tall, weigh 40 pounds, and the walking speed is 25 feet. When you roll a 1 on the d20 for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can re-roll the die and must use the new roll. That is amazing, and that's called lucky. You have advantage on saving throws against being frightened, and you can move through the space of any creatures of this size or that larger than yours. You could speak, read, and write in common and halfling. And the two main kinds of halfling are called lightfoot and stout, are mostly common related families true to the subraces. Lightfoot, you can easily hide and notices other people cover you. You're inclined to be affable and get along with others, and they're prone to wanderlust. And the stout, harder than average and have some resistance to poison. Some say that stouts have dwarven blood. In the Forgotten Realms, these halflings are called stronghearts. They're most common in the south. Constitution increases by 1, whereas lightwood charisma increases by 1, and the stout resilience, you have advantage on saving throws against poison and resistance against poison damage if you're stout. And if you're naturally stealthy for a lightfoot, For example, you can attempt to hide by a creature that is at least one size larger than yours. So they're basically naturally stealthy. Human. Again, pretty common. In the reckonings of most worlds, humans are the youngest of the common races. Late to arrive on the world, short-lived in comparison to dwarves, elves, and dragons. Perhaps it's because they're shorter lives and they strive to achieve as much as they can. Or maybe they feel they have something to prove. So it's a broad spectrum, as we all know. An individual can stand from 5 to 6 feet, 120 to 250 pounds. Variety in all things, they're adaptable, ambitious among the common races. Widely varying tastes, morals, and custom in many different lands where they have settled. They live fully in the present, making them well suited to the adventuring life, but also plan for the future, striving to leave a lasting legacy. Lasting institutions, or single or elf or dwarf might take on the responsibility of guarding a specific location. Humans found sacred orders and institutions for such purposes. Dwarf clans and halfling elders pass on the ancient traditions to each new generation. Human temples, governments, libraries, and code of law fix their traditions in the bedrock of history. Some humans can be xenophobic. In general, their societies are inclusive. Human lands welcome large numbers of non-humans compared to the proportion of humans who live in non-human lands. Exemplars of ambition, so they are very ambitious and seek adventure. Human names and ethnicities, so they're given by their parents' names, just like us. The material, culture, and physical characteristics of human can change wildly from region to region. Human physical characteristics vary accordingly to the ancient migrations of the earliest humans, so that the humans of the Silver Marches have every possible variation of coloration and features. So that is one of the ethnicities of the human race. Another ethnicity is Kalishenti, shorter and slighter build, and there are names for suggestions. So there's a whole bunch of ethnicities that you would be able to choose from as a human that could help kind of give you that skeleton of creating a background. That's why it's really, really important to read this book. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 human names and ethnicities and traditions that you can find and see what you think would fit best with your storyline. Traits of a human, so your ability score increases by 1. Your adulthood in their late teens and live less than a century. Humans tend to know particular alignment. The best and worst are found among them. We vary in size. Your base walking speed is 30, and you can speak, read, and write in common. So, the next read, we will discover the Dragonborn race, and we'll get into reading about that race and moving forward, and so on, figuring out what the other races would look like. And I'll let you get a sneak peek of the handbook. You see, it's very filled with a lot of illustration, which really, really helps when choosing a character, ultimately giving you inspiration for your personal background or for the DM himself or herself. And that's it for today. We'll go back to the races tomorrow. And thank you for listening to the D&D Player's Handbook.